form, yes, with unorthodox knowledge absorption. So that is the one thing I think that theories of multiple intelligences has really like had a positive influence on society. Like I
Absolutely.
like anybody who says like I have naturalistic intelligence and they like can keep a lot of plants alive. I'm like, cool, like that's okay. You're also
Yeah,
like a
go off, read
you're
them,
you're
grow a
also
carrot.
an Aquarius, but like but I know I'm not no
She
shit.
reads you to filth.
So,
Like the
uh
plants in the baby. Don't look at the plants. Don't look at my
but
babies.
I mean, yeah, like for someone who says that, oh, I'm a visual learner, like I completely agree with that. Okay, being able to have that knowledge, and I think there's a lot of self-knowledge that comes with that of like, okay, this is how I absorb information better, like what kind of learner you are,
Well, but
right? So
that's the adapting to the situation that you were
yes,
talking about
yeah,
before, which services this kind of higher order degree of general intelligence that is like, okay, is intelligence knowing the type of intelligence that you allegedly have and the way that you acquire knowledge and retain knowledge? And I think to some degree, yeah, that's exactly what I would like to
yeah.
categorize as intelligence. But as you said, a lot of the reasoning that we have these standardized tests like SATs, ACTs. In Canada, we have provincial, testing in the various like math, science, social studies,
Mm,
language arts, that sort of thing. That's very similar, and GREs and stuff to get into school, or MCATs and LSATs, that are more domain specific. But all of this is to decide who gets access to what resources and how, and to be able to justify that on a piece of paper to someone, when they demand receipts for where their tax dollars are going and stuff like that, right? Or where the university's
yeah,
money is going. Like if you start giving, you know, college positions to the bottom 25th percentile of people testing on an SAT, the universities would riot. The donors, the funders, all of that
mm-hmm,
it would go very poorly, right? So
yeah,
it definitely services a capitalistic kind of
yeah.
endeavor.
Yeah, I think like I definitely am not like pro this like oh normative IQ beep bop boop bullshit. I think that like for me, I look
Oh,
at it be that the beep bop boop. Um
sorry.
I no, I think of it like from like a personalized medicine take, right? Of like
Yes.
if we do these types of tests and we can assess when somebody, for instance, like I can't like for somebody who has dyslexia who's like a very like for instance they're gifted they would be a gifted student and but they
Mm-hmm.
are they literally are having difficulty reading because of like a neurological disorder. I
Mm-hmm.
like that would be like that would be so upsetting to me. And so it's like being able to like cater to those individuals and like their needs and like especially in a school setting, but preferably in like a life setting
Mm-hmm.
is I think sort of like the inherent value in some of these tests and
Yeah.
these mechanisms, right? Is be able to like give people like a step up, a hand up, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if it is indeed used for that, which is it?
Yeah.
Is
I
it?
mean,
I feel like it's not.
I mean, our standardized test probably not. But I mean, sped
Yeah.
like special education. Is it sped?
Yeah.
Sped saying
Probably.
sped is that derog? That's not derogatory, is it?
Special education?
I think it's
I
just
feel
short
like
for
it's
special
not.
education, right? Okay. Okay.
If someone knows the answer, please share it in chat. We want
Yes.
to
Yeah.
be inclusive and non-discriminatory to the greatest ability that we
I have
possibly
heard
Yeah.
have.
people be called since before.
Excuse me?
I have heard people called that in derogatory sense
Oh,
before.
okay.
I'm
So,
gonna.
reporting live, people have been called speds, and that's derogatory. So we'll just go
Okay.
ahead and call that a slur. Just to be safe. But special education or curated, educational programs for people with differing abilities, I think, is something that, yeah, these sorts of tests allow you to identify certain subpopulations that
Mm-hmm.
need different kind of access to care, right? Like much like, okay, you need Braille school for people, like there's schools that are specifically for people that have limited to no vision, and they have just a different method to get to the same information. And I'm sure that those individuals probably had the same bell curve if you tested that specific subpopulation of intelligence across that specific group of people, that
Mm-hmm.
they would have, people on the low end and people on the high end. and that as long as they had means to the information and, that sort of stuff, that it would probably, bear it out. So yeah, to that degree, I guess testing does identify at risk or in need groups.
Yeah.
If we're trying to throw people a bone here at the old standardized testing world.
Well, I was gonna say it also identifies, and I 100% think this, being a gifted kid growing up, I think gifted education is also special education. Like that, I don't think that's a very hot take by any means, but like, I think that there are children who, and again, now realizing that I was also ADHD, I like look at that and I'm like, okay, like being like pulled out of class and being given a space to essentially do like, and honestly it was like very creatively focused from my recollection of like elementary school, like gifted education. Like it was, we would do these things called doodles, essentially, where we were given like a white sheet of paper that had just sort of like a random sort of line drawing, and we had to create an entire image around this line drawing, and we had to do it. We did them
We
on
do
like
that in art school still.
okay, and we did them
That's
on
cool.
like a monthly basis, but then we had to like essentially, there had to be like symbolism, and we had to have all these other elements that were like involved in it, and we had to have a title in there. And it was, I like, that's like a core memory of mine always. And I of course I always waited to the last minute to do them, and I was always struggling with them at the last second. Classic. But
ADHD, no.
no, never. Yeah, but I think like being put, like, I was pushed essentially. Like somebody was like saying, you need, like, you are, I don't know, this is gonna sound like kind of shitty, but like you're performing at a higher level than like other individuals and students in your class, and like you need like a sort of specialized education program, a SPED, to like essentially. Sorry, I'm reclaiming, and I'm saying no. And
no,
yeah,
accommodations are important, right?
Yes.
Like that's something that now is happening in universities at a way higher degree. People that have test anxiety, you don't need to even be diagnosed with anything. I think for most of the universities that I'm aware of, to be able to get access to special accommodations for like test taking, or if you have vision impairment, to have someone to read you the questions and you answer them and stuff like that. But I mean, just because they have that sort of accommodation at a place of higher learning that's already only available to a certain subsect of people doesn't mean that you have access to that to study or to live your day-to-day life, right? So like, I mean, it's, in some ways a bare minimum, and I'm glad that those things exist, but it's so scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, it
for supporting people of different things, rather than ranking us on an IQ scale and adding evaluation to that. Like, because go ahead, stratify us and quantify us and categorize us, but it's what you do with that categorization. I'm fine to say that I lack mathematical reasoning abilities. I frankly don't care. But if that meant that they weren't going to allow me into graduate school when I know that I'm a really good fucking scientist, that would be a hardship for my personal life, and I think it would have been a hardship for the people that have been improved by my science.
Okay, sorry, there's a couple things that I want to talk about in this chat that is like, I'm geeking. So okay, Birdbanes was saying, I wonder what test measures witticism, and I would say that wittiness comes from, it's like, it's quick thinking and it's recall, right? Because witty jokes typically, like if you think about like a classic comedy special, you're pulling like a callback, for instance. There's a lot of like recall, there has to be relevance there. So I think there are aspects that are measured sort of in processing speed, obviously, like you have to be quick with it. So I think there's pieces of that are measured in like intelligence testing, in my opinion. And then Raffle Iron Chef said, if what was it? I've been told not everyone can hear electronics. Apparently that is only a lucky few. And that, bro, I, as a child, I genuinely thought I had a superpower as a young person, because I could hear our like cathode ray, old school cathode ray TV, like buzzing when it was like on, but the screen wasn't on. And I'm like so shook that I'm not the only person that's ever happened to. Oh, a
Is
lot of
that is that like a thing that people don't have? Like they don't hear it? Is
I
that
don't I apparently like very few other people in my family, like I don't think anybody else in my family was able to tell. I have a higher chance of ADHD. Yeah, okay. I
oh
know.
dear. So okay, because
This
I
is
have like a wireless charger, and if you plug the wrong type of thing, like a non-sanctioned, like third
it
party
buzzes.
pluggy thing, it buzzes, and I'm like, what is that noise? Like I lose it, absolutely lose it.
This
One
is
time,
also
okay,
I was gonna say this is also not the first time I've been called autistic on this stream, so like wait for my next diagnosis, y'all. I'll
I'll
be coming.
blame neurodivergence, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
One time there was I think it was a raven in the forest that's near our house, and we could hear it. Like we're not very close to the
Yeah,
forest, but
yeah,
we're like decently close. But like it's 100 meters away, kind of thing, at least. And we were we were sitting in bed, and it sounded like a raven when it's doing a certain type of call sounds just straight up like a dying animal, like it's like kind of thing.
yeah.
And so I was like, oh my god, something's hurt out there. Like it was like 1 a.m, and I was like, we got to go do something about this. Bless my partner's soul for tolerating it. Okay, I'm sure, baby. Yeah. Wait, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I think it's in the forest. He's like, do you want to go get flashlights? I don't think we have flashlights. And I'm like, I don't think we should go into the dark forest where there's maybe an animal dying. And then for a second, I was like, maybe it's a bird. So I brought out my Merlin app, and within 2 seconds, it was like absolute certainty it's a raven. I'm like, we're going back to bed. But it was because I couldn't tolerate it, and it only happened once every, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
40 to 60 seconds. So it was like a long enough span that it wasn't like, but yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. So okay, this is a great segue because
Yeah.
so giftedness and twice exceptionality are like I think are super duper hot topics right now on like social media. I actually asked this when I was TAing the class. I asked the neuropsychologist who was like course supervisor, and I was like, do you have more people like coming in asking to be like assessed for autism and ADHD because of like what they're seeing on social media? And she's like, 100% yes. So this is it is actually having like systemic effects. But it's really interesting. And again, also if you think about it, like most undergraduate students are like kids that were like a lot of undergraduate students are like, the gifted kids from school, and they like, they talk about this sort of gifted like, oh, I was gifted and now I'm just like sad and depressed because I'm like a normie now. But giftedness actually has a lot of similarities to like other neurodivergent, and I would say giftedness probably is just like a type of neurodivergence, but again it's sort of this like more socially acceptable positive direction than like other neurodivergence conditions. So
there's no like actual DSM giftedness thing though, right? This is like a more of a conceptual thing, right?
yeah, it's I don't like there's sorry, what do you mean by like DSM? Like
well, okay, so like being on the autism spectrum or having ADHD or other sort of like differently abled neurodivergent things is something that has some categorical diagnostic definition, but exceptionality, I think, or
yes.
giftedness.
Yeah.
When we talk about that, we just talk about like different than the bell curve, like a standard deviation or two away from the mean on whatever thing we're talking about.
Yeah. So this is
Okay.
the top 3 to 5% of the bell curve essentially. And IQs ranging from 130 to 145. And I mean, you don't always assess IQ specifically to assess giftedness. Is often like, so I don't know if anyone's familiar with like Stanford Binet testing, but that's often what they'll do to like assess giftedness.
That's the one where you have like 3D things and stuff like that. Right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I remember I did that once or twice in school, but
I did part of one time.
yeah.
Like because there's a brief, there's like an abbreviated version of it, right?
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, but individuals who are gifted almost always have similarities. Like, it's very rare for an individual to be gifted and then also, like, socially normative, like sensory normative, all these things. It's very common for individuals who are gifted to also have like